which continuously organizing sessions, and it is my privilege and honor to be part of this uh, session. Thank you so much. I welcome you, one and all, joined here the presentation session. Uh, so today's session is about the language and literature. Okay, let us understand what language, how we understand about what is language. Language as a communication uh, to exchange or to connect, or the process of understanding that has been there in our everyday life. That language plays an important role. So coming to here, the Indian language, the origin of Indian language, the base language of Indian language is Sanskrit language. Sanskrit is one of the earliest ancient language of India, and Sanskrit, how it helped the other languages to grow. Sanskrit, how it helped to as a resource of literature to connecting with many languages which are formed based on the Sanskrit language. So the earliest writers of Sanskrit, one of the writer named Kalidasa. Kalidasa is called as one of the greatest poet of Sanskrit literature, and also he was compared with Shakespeare, as he had contributed great books that he great works that he contributed to Sanskrit literature. As we have come across that he had produced the wonderful poems which are mythological and connecting to Indian heritage, Indian culture. That shows that some of the works, the poems that is written by Kalidasa, Meghaduta, Ritu Sambara, Kumara Sambhavam, Raghuvamsha, Malavikagnamitram, and also he was a playwright, a great playwright we could call him. Abhijnana Shakuntala, Vikrama Orasi, Malavikagnamitram. These are the plays that he had written, and he was the great poet of Sanskrit, we can call him. During his time, Sanskrit, other uh, contributions also had, we can see that. Mrichkatika is one of the writer. Swapna Vasavadattam by Basha. Basha was another poet. Ratnavali by Sri Harsha. Mudra Raksasa, Deva Chandragupta. The Deva Chandragupta was another poet, which he wrote Devachandra Gupta by Vishaka Datta. So what we understand here is Sanskrit is one of the language that had contributed more onto other languages, which is regarded as the best language, and also connecting with mythology or the concept of Hinduism or Vedas, Puranas. You could we could see that a lot of things which are connected to the Sanskrit language. So this is to understand that the basically Indian language system, how Indian language system, which we all represent India with the different states, different languages which we see it, but the which is the main language is the Sanskrit language. On based on that, other languages also we could understand here. So one of the language that I have taken here is the Telugu literature as a literature, to understand the literature, the concept of understanding about the language. So here one of the language, which is Telugu literature. Similarly, Telugu, Tamil, Kannada or Malayalam, all these languages which are called as Dravidian languages, and also we also named it as many languages of India, that around 10 to 12 languages are considered as classical languages. Before going to classical languages, one of the language example is here I have taken is Telugu literature. When we study the history of Telugu literature, how this Telugu writers have produced wonderful contributions into the literature. The main contributions, which era the Telugu literature starts, which is one example, is Vijayanagar, the empire, Vijayanagar Empire. During the Vijayanagar Empire, the wonderful books have been produced by one of the writer named called Bukka Vanna. Bukka Vanna, Bukka One, the one of the writer. And Krishna Devaraya was the emperor. During his time, the Telugu literature flourished well, because of his encouragement and patronage of different poets that he had given a place for writers. He himself was a poet, Telugu writer. He was a Telugu writer. He had written a book named called Amukta Maulyada. So this was one of the excellent book by Krishna Devaraya. And also he had given a place for eight poets that he had it in his court. It was also known as Asta Digaja. He had adorned in his court, and among them, some of the great writers called Alasani Peddanna. He wrote Manu Charitam. It was one of the greatest book. And also he was called as Andhra Kavi Pitamaha. He had other poets as well, Nandi Timmanna, and uh, other great writers. We could call them as Tanali Ramakrishna was one of the best writer, as we have as we read in the literature books. We often refer this Tenali Ramakrishna. He was one of the best writer during the Vijayanagar empires. Maybe the Vijayanagar empire was in 14th to 15th century. During those days, this empire was exist. Okay, so Ramakrishna was another writer which produced this Telugu literature flourished well during the period of Vijayanagar Empire. So next, I have taken another example, which is the literature of Kannada. This is also one of the southern Indian language, and this language is also considered as one of the classical language of India. And as we understand that how a Telugu literature, that's an example that I have taken here. The languages how developed during particular period of time. Say, for example, Sanskrit literature, which was the earliest language, as I have taken here. There are other languages also, but Sanskrit is one of the oldest language that the writers and the contribution which has other writers as well, other writers. So here the Kannada literature, which is developed during 10th century. Earlier to 10th century, the language was existed, but the development of language happened after the 10th century. 10th century. The one of the great book produced by the Kaviraj Rashtrakuta king, Nrpatanga Amogha Varsha was one of the court poet. He had written a book named called Kaviraja Marga. This was the one of the remarkable or well described book, which has the complete literary forms like literary essence or literary terms are used, or this is called one of the best book to narrate about the literature. And there are other poets. Nrpatanga Amogha was one of the earliest poet of Kannada. In addition to him, Pampa, Ranna, and Panna. There were three poets, three Ratnas. It was called as three Ratnas: Pampa, Ranna, and Panna. So they are earliest in literature. We have early writers, medieval writers, modern writers. So here I have taken an example of the early writers of Kannada literature. So one of the writer named called Pampa, he was called as a great epic writer. I mean, oldest poet or epic writer. He had written a book named called Adi Purana, Vikramarcha Vijaya. So these books tells about the epic stories of Ramayana and Mahabharata, which was written in Sanskrit. But here the poets which belong to this Kannada language, they have done it in a different way, that the characterization or the way they have described about the characters of the Ramayana, that is a very unique kind. The style of their writing, or the elaboration, or some the literary style of writing, all this was known very popular in Kannada literature. And Fanna, Ranna, they were also during the same period of time, Rashtrakuta's period. They were, on the under the court of Rashtrakuta's king. They wrote the Shanti Purana. Ranna wrote Ajita Natha Purana. So they were called as three Ratnatrayas. Also, they were called as three gems of the literature during those days. Those days. So during next, there are other poets who were there in the different period of time, Kadamba's time or Hoysala's time, and then Vijayanagara King's time. During Vijayanagara King's time, which has got the Telugu literature as well as Kannada literature also had developed. So the two languages which I have mentioned here are the examples. Sanskrit is a base language, and then the other two languages. One language is Telugu language, Telugu literature, and Kannada literature. So these are just an example to understand that how Indian languages, which has their own status or own, regional heritage culture. It differs from one language to another language, which their culture or which their tradition or which their worshipping of different things, or their living style, economical or political and other aspects also we can understand through this great literary works. So here the classical language. This is something which is giving honor to a language. So in India, we see that many languages are spoken languages, written languages. So as we have diverse, culture or diverse geographical difference and language difference. Or among all that, some of the languages are regarded as the classical languages. What is classical languages? How do they determine about classical languages? That is all the central government or the government of India had made a policy. According to the policy of central government languages, they have made some criteria. So one of the criteria that is it showed the language records or language textbooks had to be from around 1500 to 2000 years. There should be a history of 1500 to 2000 years. And then the heritage of the books or heritage of the literature has to pass from generation to generation, and they shouldn't have been borrowed their original language or original dialect or original the speech or something that should not be borrowed from one language to another language. It should have its own language words or language other conditions that should be followed. So classical language and literature being distinct from modern time to classical time. Modern language and classical language, there is a difference. So continuation of the language history and continuation of that language, how it connect and used by the people. Based on that, the criteria has been made by the Indian government on languages, and then take into consideration, and they gave us the recognition of it is one of the classical language. So as we see that there are two great epic books of India, and based on that, criteria is also mentioned here as the classification of language, text based on the text, based on the heritage, based on the things that original literary tradition borrowed from the great books, great two resource books are. One is called Mahabharata, another one is called Ramayana. Through this, the the languages, how that is been taken it, and that is how it is followed, or how the language has taken it into the reference as a reference through the Mahabharata and Ramayana, which is the main criteria that we follow the classical languages. So in India, currently we have recognized the classical languages. Sanskrit is the first one, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, Odia, Marathi, Pali, Prakrit, Assamese, and Bengali. With the later five flowed in October 2024. Actually, this classical language criteria and the identifying which language is a classical language, there was a complete discussion, and there was a stronger approach that every language expertise or the literary experts, they were all approaching to the government or the raising their voice that they wanted to claim that their language is a classical language. So this was like a long agitation or a long kind of demand that many languages they were demanding it. But it has got that's what you call it, the government policy, that according to the language policy, which language can be considered as the classical language, which cannot be considered as a classical language. There was a big discussion, and later on they have drawn the policies that which language can be considered as the classical language. And on that basis, till 2024, around 12 to 15 languages, sorry, 11 11 languages had considered as the classical languages. So what is the benefits of classical language as a classical language? The status, or it is declared that it is one of the classical language. What benefits as a country, as a representative of the language, as a state? What are the benefits they are going to get? It is the the honor, one of the honor that they receive it. And also they gave them the fund. The central government gave them the fund. Okay, special aid is granted. So special aid is granted to develop the language, and then also to establish the language related institutions, or language related universities. They can establish language related some organization. They can open it. Through them they can bring better works like literary works, or they can also build the language, develop the language, and translate the works from classical their languages to other languages. And it is one of the best benefit that they get it through this. They can create employment for the those who are into the profession of literature, those who are into the profession of, those who are aspiring to become a literary writers, those who want to explore more about the language and literature. They get a jobs through the classical language status, because the classical language status enable them. The government every year they give them the ad, so they give them the aid, which is going to help the language interested people, and they can make a better society, or better way of contributing to their literature. So this is what. And overall, to understand that all over the world, language is an important part of any culture. Language, without the language, then communication is impossible. And also sense of community, it creates sense of culture, sense of heritage it creates. Today, as we see that all over the world, around 6,500 spoken languages exist. So communication is an important part of the society. And through this language, we understand the common like interconnection. That is where what is the reality and what can be the communication interact with one culture to another culture. Okay, so it is beyond our geographical location. We can learn their language, and we speak, and we can teach our language to others. So language is an essential for all the societies, that whichever part of the world. Languages the very important to build relationship, to create a sense of community, to create a sense of oneness, to create that to remove the cultural barriers, or to remove the other barriers which were not connected. So it shows that language is very very important to live on this earth. So in this slide I have just taken examples of communication. Communication. What is communication? Primary duties or primary uh, things of what communication does it. It is just communication. Communication has verbal communication, non-verbal communication, and written communication. This is it is a that is a common uh, thing that we exchange our ideas, and help us each other to lead our life harmoniously. It is like a cultural link. Okay, say for example, the culture of one state to another state, it gives them an opportunity to to understand that what is their culture, what is their the style of living, or what is their food, uh, clothes, or the economic or social political system. All other systems we can connect it if we have a communication. So it also expresses identity, which where you are, what kind of place you belong to, or what kind of identity that you carry. That also it shows that is a strong message that we get it. We will have a relationship. It builds a relationship. It facilitates a learning. It enables us collaboration between one state, or one state to another state. It also helps us to build our relationship, leadership. Overall, what we can say, that a healthy society, to grow as a healthy society, to grow as a language, as a communication between one to another, which is going to build a better person, and also connect with to help us to understand that what we are and what they are. And it is a kind of to develop our, not only the personal things, and also we can develop our business, our trade, our political system, their knowledge system, their wisdom can be exchanged. And wisdom help us to take the important components of their contributions, and we can come over the problems and understand that how we develop. What are the language skills? That is a common question, that what is language? Language skill. Languages is to speak, write, and read, listen. These are the four components, as we say that LSRW activities. Any language that we have, four languages, which helps us to define that what is language. Okay, so in today we are into a 21st century, and then the language is like it is very essential for every person to get information. And we are now into a technological advancement, that we have got various types of tools or technical tools that we have got it. And languages is any language that we can easily learn, okay, with the help of the technological tools. So it is essential for one to talk, or one to communicate with one to another. Communication plays a very very important role. And also the language skills, if we acquire it one to another language, we can grow, and we can get better acquaintances with the different diversities, different customs that we can take at language skills, acquire the language skills, so that we can to get better opportunities and get better skills that we can learn it, and then become a better leaders also. So here, till now, I just have gone through about the language. Language. What is language? Language is just to communicate one to another, which we have found a language. Language is basically has got the words and then sounds, and then the expression and other things are there. Okay, and this language is the any example of any language that is depends upon that how it has formed, how it has developed over a period of time, that it has got its own history, that how it has developed, and then it took many years to become as a to connecting or a lot of people to speak one language, and then considering it as a classical language. It has got its own the heritage. It has got its own history, and a lot of people that involved to make as a language, as a what you say, that is recognized language, considerable language, or what you say, that one of the important language spoken in this particular geographical area. So all that how we come to know, to understand that our language has developed, our language has taken a period of time. Some languages have been using it, but we as we say that many of the languages, some of the languages which are not used because, giving example, Greek country, they had the languages, and other African countries, as we say that many spoken languages are there, but written languages are not there. In India also, we see that many spoken languages are there, different dialects are used it, but still we can't say that there are those all languages are called as a classical languages. Why it is not called as a classical language? Because the number of people that they speak the language depends on that. We can have understand that, yes, which is one of the classical language, one of the recognized language. On that basis, we can say that. Here, what is literature and language? Literature is important in language. Without the literature, the language, we can't say that it is an well developed language. Literature. What is literature? Literature is the reflection of society, or the written things which are there, as the the novels, poems, dramas, and novellas. So many literary forms are there, poems. Okay, and these all these things are not without the literature, it won't happen. Society, as it grows, that literature plays an important, significant role. It is Literature is a creative wisdom. It is an exceptional wisdom that someone who has got potential to bless, and then they get into produce novels, write up poems, write dramas. These are all the part of literature. And somebody who says that to a lot of people may think that studying or reading literature may not help you to get a job. But people may think that studying about science or mathematics, that is going to give you better career. But to survive a language, what is required? Survive a language, literature is required. Literature is what? Literature is the reflection of society, or expression of creative minds who could contribute an exceptional wisdom. They could narrate, they could tell about the society, how the society, and it is very essential, very important to get survive a language. If literary contributions are reduced, If literary contributions are reduced, there is no any exploration into literature. If the writers are not continue to write or something that they produce into literature, then what happens to the language? So language may not have got much widely spoken, because people who read literature, why do people read literature? Literature will tell about the, connect their emotions, their feelings. It relaxes their uh, it relaxes their life, and then they would take it many literary works as a source of inspiration, inspiration. So as we read the biographies of people, they write that is also comes under one of the literature. So they read it, they just take it as a source of inspiration. Like many plays, also plays that tells about the present society. It is kind of mockery, or the system that what we have been following it. They tell about past and present, and also they could guess it what is going to happen in the future. Through literature, people would get to know about what our society, what our family, I mean, what our surrounding, what is our country. Like many things we can explore through literature. But what we think is that literature is not going to give you a job, not going to give a job. But to understand that widens our horizon or wisdom, that is very important. That literature plays a very good role, that everyone to understand that how a wisdom, how a knowledge, and how a language works. So what is the importance of literature? Literature is it is a gateway. It is like a gateway to understand about our self-conscious conscience. Conscience is just something that touching your heart, touching your inner soul. Always we don't just a life is just to materialistic. Many a times we all have our inner emotions that always tells that something which is beyond our materialistic thing. So which is how do we come to know through the literature, that it enables us to understand that self-conscience, that is also critical thinking, analyzing the ability, and psychological changes that we undergo. We see that the ups and downs of life, and tragedies of our life, miseries of our people. All this is literature helps us to read and understand. And also it is like like a mirror, like a mirror, that how you see it, what you are. Literature is a gateway to understand that how we are, how what is our society. So it is not only this, and also it helps us to understand about the from past life, like history, tradition, cultural heritage, development of oral skills. And also a lot of writers who write the best literary works, which helps us to understand their vocabulary that is very essential for a language. And literature is the one tool that will help us to enhance our language, because the literature is about words, vocabulary, phrases, idioms, proverbs. So it gives us best practice of language. The language becomes better by if you read the literature, read the literature. It is also like a cultivation of our personalities. Cultivation. It is also a integrity. It shows our integrity. How do we say that it develops our integrity? Because as we read the novels of writers. For example, if you read it, the poems of William Wordsworth, poems of Robert Frost. When we read it, we come across many, the like it brings us a different experience, which connects us to understand the aesthetic values of life. As we see that the different genre of writers, uh, genre of writers. Like novels will tell us about the particular period of time. If you take an example of American writers, Arthur Miller and the 19th century writers, 19th century, and Ernest Hemingway, all of them, they wrote about their time. During their time, what kind of problems or what kind of challenges people were undergoing. Those things we could understand. Taking example of African writers, Chinua Achebe was one of the African writer. He wrote in a different style. His Things Fall Apart is one of the book, and which describes about African nativity, African culture. Taking example of other writers of India, Rabindranath Tagore, Sarojini Naidu, and Toru Dutt, Toru Dutt. So these are just an example to understand that Satyajit Ray, they all have written their contributions, which tells about Indian culture and Indian system. Taking example of other writers, R.K. Narayan, Mulkaraj Anand, Raja Rao, so their writing in English, which is one of the new change that they brought it into the literary field, literary field. So these are all what we say that this is a kind of social integration, social integration. So people read it across India. Just a second. So it is all social, connection, social connection of languages. So obviously, the mankind oral works also plays very important role. Oral works. What is oral work in literature? There are two types of literature. One literature which is called as oral literature. Other literature is called as the written literature. Oral literature has, especially in Indian Indian knowledge system, we may have forgotten many oral works, but it is passed by generation to generation across the world, not only India, across the world. Today, we may have taken a source of, the source of that those works, oral works, that, and then the writers have made their own contributions on that also. That also, giving example of this oral works in literature, as we say that the freedom fighters, great freedom fighters like Jhansi Rani Lakshmibai, and then Kitturu Rani Chennamma. So all those great warriors' contributions during pre-independence era, and many unknown kings. About them also, the oral literature tells about their contribution, and this is just passed by one generation to another generation. They have got forms of songs also, through songs, through storage, through other way that they have produced the lot of works. So studying literature, why we should study literature? Study literature. Literature helps us to understand the society, helps us to understand ourselves, and many a times that one particular piece of poem that changes your mood or changes your thinking, and it is like a moral message that what is right, what is wrong, and it resonates deeply into our thoughts and feelings. It provokes and it helps us to come out of the problems, and then also it gives us the message that what is our duty, how we have to take it, how we have to consider these, and how to solve the problems. That also we can study in the literature. Literature displays the effects, which means that it tells about the what is the problems, and what are the experiences that the particular humans from one period to another period they have undergone, and how they had lived, and what kind of changes they have taken it over a period of time. And it allows us to expand uh, through the literature we can expand, we can develop our vocabulary, our language components. So what is literature? Literature is written expression, as we say that poetry. Poetry has got a different forms of poetry, like ballad, sonnet, and etc. Dramas have also the one of the main important contribution of literature. Dramas is written all over the world, and all kinds of languages. We see that drama is one of the important form of literature. Drama includes that different types of dramas, right? One act drama, and then the what you call it, tragedies, comedy, all this. The great Indian dramatist, as we could give the example of the Kalidasa was one of the greatest writer, and other dramatists of India, as we can say that the writers present time. Uh, we have got the present time writers. As You Like It, written by Mahesh Dattani. He was one of the dramatist, present dramatist. Earliest dramatist, Rabindranath Tagore, and um, the other writers. So here, the literature basically includes the poetry, drama, short stories, essays, and letters. The selection ranges from epic works such as Iliad and Odyssey. These are the two epic books which were written in those days, ancient time in Greek. But today we could see that varieties of literary books are there, which we can say that modern mysteries, which is detective stories and all these things. Why we should study literature? Literature, relieves us by stress, from stress, and it inspires us to imagination. Imagination is the wonderful gift that we all have. So we could imagine varieties of things. It also helps us to be healthy, which means it gives us mental peace, and it helps us to expand our vocabulary. It helps us to write and improve our skills of writing, and it helps us to improve the reading literature. Literature motivates the critical thinking. Reasons to read literature, it motivates us, and through literature we will have a lot of different kinds of histories that we can study it, and it is very important for students and all of us. Language and literature is important. So what are the language skills? Language skills are important, as you see that it is important for academically as well as cognitive development. Cognitive development is inner thinking or critical thinking or self-analysis, or to express and to get into a creative ideas, thoughts, to put it, and to tell the society that what is important. So cognitive development helps for the language. And also today's time that we see that it is people who would also study the 2 3 languages, not just one language. They have 2 3 languages, multilingual education education. So it promotes a friendly environment also. It develops the education system and society. Basically, language will help us to improve our communication skills which enable us to convey our thoughts, ideas, feelings clearly and confidently. And, as we can get connect with more number of people, And as we get exposure into academics as well as socially also, we can make impact on society. We can make impact on our business or our any field of the work that we carry it. So a language will help us to be a confident, and it gives us, allows us to be connecting with more number of people. And vocabulary is a common thing that we improve common. And then reading comprehension, as we see that LSRW activities, reading, listening, writing, and speaking. Through this, the comprehension, read varieties of books. When we read it, it helps us to improve our the vocabulary. And it also helps us to be mastering of the writing skills, mastering of the speaking skills. So overall, it could be oral or it could be written. That language helps us to be a better person. So other benefits of language is that we can get into the different culture to understand it. It promotes us. It promotes, basically it promotes the cultural norms and diversity. Multilingual, being a one language speaker is only you can connect with one particular regional place. But if you are being with multiple language, then what happens? You can reach with understanding the concept of global diversity. And it also helps us to build a harmony. And it is empowerment. It gives us empowerment. In what way it is empowering us? Because you can raise your voices and take a collective decision and make a better society. So language is a to bring our society to change, and to bring a social harmony. Language skills are very important. So as we understand that two important concepts here. One is language, another one is literature. Literature and language both are uh, you know linked. How it is linked? A language is a just a communication. We may say that it is just a oral language, but literature includes oral as well as the written languages, all what we call it as a recognized language. And then written language has got a special status as a classical language. And also you could written languages could act like a connecting with one country or one state to another state, which means that your literary works can be translated, can be taken from one state to another state, and they could read and understand the value system of this particular language. And then that helps us to get connect with different culture and different heritage. So basically, language is just a communication, but literature is a important tool to develop a language. So we cannot say that without the literature, language is not going to be a great language. So